cornered me. And then he asked me, with his arm up, he asked me, "How you doing?" I'm kind of like, wow, this is, what the heck? Very uncomfortable. And then he rubbed his hand down my breast. He said, "If you need anything at all, you let me know."
Welcome back to Sip the Scoop. The ongoing FBI investigation into Sean Diddy Combs has taken a direction that few people saw coming, and online conversations have suddenly shifted toward one unexpected name, Ellen DeGeneres. Now, before we go any further, it's important to say clearly, there is no official confirmation or allegation involving Ellen. What is happening is a wave of speculation driven by reports, commentary, and resurfaced moments from the past. As federal agents continue gathering information related to Diddy's circle, social media is buzzing with theories about how far investigators might look into the network of high-profile acquaintances who interacted with him over the years. These discussions don't imply guilt.
There is a partial verdict in the Diddy case after 2 days. The jury has reached unanimous decisions on 4 of the 5 counts. The problem is that 5th count means that we don't get to find out what the verdicts are on the other 4.
In the past few weeks, outlets and online commentators have suggested that authorities may be reviewing old communications from various public figures connected to Diddy's professional world. Nothing about these reports is confirmed by officials, but the conversation itself has been loud enough to pull Ellen back into public focus, particularly because fans have noticed her keeping a low profile. Much of the current speculation stems from resurfaced clips, especially Ellen's 2018 interview with Diddy. In that segment, she joked about the real party starting at midnight, a line that originally came off as playful but is now being reinterpreted through today's lens. Online communities love to connect dots, even when those dots are based on coincidence or hindsight. And this is another example of that pattern. When Ellen made that comment back in 2018, it came across as nothing more than lighthearted banter between 2 entertainers. But today, some online commentators are revisiting that moment with a very different perspective. As new information continues to surface in the federal investigation involving Diddy, people have begun drawing connections, some reasonable, some speculative, between old interviews and the broader discussions happening now.
That he has, with others, and just because no one else has been charged, which normally in a RICO case, you would have others charged. It was a statute designed to get mob bosses, trying to get at criminal behavior that's like a web of criminal behavior that you can't necessarily prove, like the one thing or the statute of limitations expired on the other thing, but you're just showing this bad guy who's operating what's clearly an enterprise that over and over engages in criminal problems or criminal acts.
Witness accounts mentioned in public reporting describe late-night parties and high-profile gatherings connected to Diddy's social life, and this has led internet sleuths to re-examine Ellen's playful remarks from that interview. Importantly, there is no verified evidence that Ellen had any knowledge of anything improper, but that hasn't stopped speculation from spreading across social platforms. The interview resurfaced shortly after news about the investigation became public, and viewers who rewatched it claimed the dynamic felt different in hindsight. Clips of Diddy smiling while Ellen teased him about showing up late to one of her events have gone viral again, prompting people to question whether the exchange hinted at a deeper familiarity with his nightlife or whether it was simply a harmless joke blown out of proportion. Some online commentators have focused on her remark, "Once you get there, the party really starts," pointing out how current allegations have caused people to reinterpret even casual comments. Again, these are public perceptions, not established facts. Reports circulating online, not confirmed by officials, claim investigators are reviewing timelines, guest interactions, and communications connected to public appearances from that period.
He'll explain why he's speaking out now.
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
For federal investigators, this situation isn't about viral clips or celebrity gossip. It's about identifying patterns and understanding who may have been aware of certain behaviors within Diddy's wider social and professional circle. Their focus, according to public reporting, is on timelines, interactions, and whether anyone may have unintentionally or knowingly contributed to an environment that allowed misconduct to go unchecked. Sources familiar with the case have told several media outlets that the FBI's digital forensics team is reviewing a broad range of communications tied to people in Diddy's orbit. These reports claim that investigators are analyzing metadata, messages, and archived correspondence from multiple entertainment figures. Some online discussions have speculated about whether Ellen's production staff may appear in that pool of records, but there is no official confirmation that she or her team are subjects of the investigation. Legal analysts often point point out that under RICO laws, even individuals on the periphery of a situation can face scrutiny, but only when there is clear evidence of knowing involvement. As of now, nothing publicly indicates that Ellen is facing accusations, and she has not commented on any of the circulating rumors. Her silence, however, has fueled even more online speculation. Ellen stepped away from her long-running show in 2022 following workplace controversy and was later seen spending time in the UK in 2024. At the time, her representatives described the move as a creative break in the months since. Some insiders have claimed she received private legal guidance suggesting her name might appear in sealed documents related to the broader case. Much of the renewed online scrutiny actually began with old social media posts. In 2016, Ellen tweeted a playful birthday message to Diddy, jokingly calling him Cuddle McSnugglestuff and adding, "You don't need to know why."
I don't know this, but it just seems very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if you know. Listen, I've worried about some of the things that I talk about on my show.
At the time, it was seen as harmless celebrity humor, the kind of light, quirky banter her online presence was known for. But after Diddy's recent legal troubles made headlines, that tweet resurfaced and took on a very different tone in the eyes of the public users, flooded the comments section wondering why the post was still up, with one joking that the account manager must be out of town. What was once a funny throwaway nickname suddenly became fuel for speculation. People online began asking questions. Why did she invent such a personal-sounding nickname? Was it simply a friendly inside joke or a sign of closer familiarity between the two entertainers? No evidence supports anything beyond a typical celebrity friendship, but that hasn't stopped the internet from dissecting every detail. Ellen's brand has long been built on access and relationships with major public figures, and Diddy was one of the recurring guests who returned throughout her show's run. Even during rocky points in his career, he continued appearing. In 2009, amid widespread criticism over his decision to support Chris Brown following the assault on Rihanna, Diddy sat down with Ellen. She questioned him about accountability.
Did you ever spend time with the guy? Did you ever meet Diddy?
I've met him before, yeah.
How was he?
Very nice guy, very smart, super business. You know, I mean, he's very successful.
He offered a non-committal response about not casting judgment, and the interview moved on. Online commentators argue that this pattern, high visibility interviews, friendly public interactions, and ongoing celebrity support may have helped Diddy maintain influence and limit public scrutiny throughout his career. Whether that's true is still unknown, but the idea has led some to question whether Ellen's platform played a bigger role than anyone realized at the time. Meanwhile, federal investigators are working to understand the full scope of what prosecutors have referred to as the Combs enterprise. Reports suggest they're examining how far Diddy's network extended into mainstream entertainment circles and whether public appearances were intentionally used to reinforce a positive image during moments of controversy. According to one attorney who has handled previous RICO cases, investigators typically look for signs that media platforms, including talk shows, interviews, or promotional segments,
of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
May have been leveraged to shape narratives or downplay accusations. If that's part of their approach here, then emails, production notes, scheduling documents, and correspondence between teams could become relevant pieces of context, even if they show nothing improper. Legal experts emphasize that if the Bureau uncovers evidence that anyone helped hide known misconduct, even unintentionally, it could lead to charges related to obstruction. So far, nothing publicly indicates that Ellen or her team are implicated in any wrongdoing, but the speculation has increased pressure on everyone connected to Diddy's past public appearances. Across Hollywood, major names have begun distancing themselves from him.
I thought he was this clean businessman who rise to the top because he was such a powerful and, smart, educated man. I had no idea that he had this other side to him. And when I started to get exposed to his lifestyle, I started to really realize, this guy has an addiction. It's not just, once every few weeks, it's every day, every hour.
Several A-listers, including Pink, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Ashton Kutcher, have made efforts to avoid association in the wake of the investigation. Ellen, however, has made no public statement. She hasn't condemned Diddy, expressed support for any accusers, or clarified her stance. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan's recent podcast discussion has pushed the conversation back into the spotlight. He questioned why Ellen, once one of Hollywood's most visible and outspoken daytime personalities, stepped away from public life right as the Diddy investigation began dominating headlines. Rogan commented, "You can't be that close to the storm and pretend you never heard thunder," a remark that spread quickly across social media. Almost immediately, users began reposting old clips from the Ellen DeGeneres show, analyzing everything from tone to body language during interviews, with Diddy online threads filled with theories ranging from harmless speculation to more dramatic interpretations. None of this reflects confirmed information, but the internet's appetite for clues has amplified the moment. Some former network employees have claimed that Diddy's visits to the show were treated differently behind the scenes, that additional guests arrived quietly, or that certain segments were recorded off camera. These are anecdotal accounts, not verified evidence, but they've caught the attention of viewers following the investigation. Reports circulating online, again not officially confirmed, suggest that federal investigators have reached out to past staff members.
He was responsible for Diddy's day-to-day life, so he is able to provide a lot of information about what that life was like. He goes into detail on extensive use.
Who worked on the show between 2016 and 2019. According to one former daytime producer, federal agents are asking general questions about Diddy's backstage interactions and how his team operated during tapings. There is no indication that Ellen herself is accused of wrongdoing. Instead, the reported goal appears to be understanding the broader ecosystem surrounding high-profile appearances, who coordinated what, who had access, and whether any interactions unintentionally supported Diddy's public image. One insider summarized the situation more generally. Investigators are trying to map out who helped enable the lifestyle, whether knowingly or unknowingly. One thing is clear, the FBI doesn't chase rumors, they follow evidence. So the online speculation that Ellen's name could appear anywhere in investigators' working materials has sparked intense debate. But it's important to emphasize, no official documents confirm this. And even if her name does appear incidentally, it could be something as simple as a scheduling email, a guest invitation, or routine production correspondence. Still, the possibility has fueled bigger conversations about Hollywood's long-standing culture of silence, the idea that powerful industries sometimes shield influential figures, intentionally or not. Whether there's anything meaningful behind these connections remains unknown.
And if you had day 17 in the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet, guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial.
But the focus of public curiosity has undeniably shifted. As investigators work to understand who may have contributed, knowingly or unknowingly, to the machinery that surrounded Diddy, a question keeps resurfacing in headlines and online discussions. What did various people in his orbit actually know? And who else might be asked questions next? The renewed attention on Ellen isn't solely about old interviews or friendly tweets. It stems from her visibility and access. She spent nearly 2 decades at the center of daytime television as one of the most connected hosts in the industry, someone with the influence to shape narratives, boost reputations, or soften public perception with a single segment. When prosecutors describe the allegations against Diddy as resembling a network or enterprise, they're not suggesting he acted entirely alone. They're examining the wider environment, the assistants, managers, publicists, and media platforms that made up the ecosystem around him that doesn't accuse every person of wrongdoing. It simply reflects how broad such investigations often become. Ellen's role as a cultural tastemaker means her interactions are naturally being re-examined through today's lens. But whether her silence is strategic, legally cautious, or simply personal remains unknown.
The question is he a criminal? You know, is he basically akin to a mob boss running several criminal enterprises? And while it's very clear to me he is a depraved, disgusting person, we have to prove that he violated the law.
According to unverified reports circulating among entertainment insiders, federal investigators have been reviewing general contact logs from Diddy's various press teams. The goal, these sources claim, is to map which media outlets and hosts were granted repeat access, exclusive interviews, VIP invitations, or private event passes. This doesn't imply wrongdoing. It's a common step in any broad inquiry where investigators are trying to understand patterns of public image management. Ellen's show reportedly appears on those lists more than once, simply because Diddy was a recurring guest over the years. Some observers argue that if prosecutors believe Diddy used media media platforms to shape or normalize his public persona. Then they may want to understand which outlets played a consistent role in that exposure. That does not mean those platforms knowingly contributed to anything improper, only that they were part of his media landscape. Her 2018 interview banner about the real party starting at midnight, which was clearly a lighthearted joke at the time, is now being reinterpreted by online commentators in light of later witness statements. Those comparisons remain speculative and are not part of any confirmed FBI narrative.
People I don't think realized was he had cameras all over the place, unbeknownst to them. And now he has all that footage, supposedly. This is what I'm told. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens if, you're a huge, iconic, TV star or movie star.
Another point fueling discussion is the idea of access. Public photos show Ellen and Portia de Rossi appearing alongside Diddy at several charity and industry events over the years, including the 2008 Elton John Foundation Gala. These images were once typical red carpet snapshots, but now some are revisiting them, wondering whether Ellen's presence at certain gatherings means she had a closer connection to Diddy's social circles than viewers realized. None of these appearances suggest anything improper. They were public events with many celebrities present. Still, if investigators are conducting a wide-ranging review, they may ask general questions about who attended which events, what the atmosphere was like, and whether guests ever received follow-up messages or reminders about confidentiality, the kind of things that sometimes appear in past RICO cases involving large organizations. But this investigation, according to legal analysts, isn't just about public appearances. It's about understanding influence, networks, and potential benefits. Ellen's production company, A Very Good Production, has long maintained relationships across major studios, networks, and advertising brands. Many of those same companies have also partnered with Diddy's ventures over the years, which has fueled speculation about overlapping industry ties. Entertainment lawyers note that in large federal cases, financial analysts often review broad patterns of sponsorships.
Same thing for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the interesting thing about the Epstein and the theory about Epstein is we know he filmed people for sure on that island. He has a lot of movies, a lot of films of people that are very, very powerful political figures, and entertainers, business people. So, do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein himself? Of course not.
Partnerships and promotional deals. In this situation, some online commentators have wondered whether any shared brand relationships, like beverage endorsements, clothing collaborations, or cross-promotional campaigns, could appear in the investigation's financial mapping. None of this implies wrongdoing. It simply reflects how thorough these inquiries can become. Insiders who previously worked near Ellen's camp claim there was a noticeable shift in tone late last year. One source recalled that by November 2024, her PR team became more guarded, limiting interviews, removing certain event photos from public pages, and declining to answer any questions related to Diddy's arrest. Again, these actions can have many explanations, but the timing has sparked curiosity. Around that same period, unverified rumors began circulating that Ellen's attorneys had quietly reached out to members of Diddy's legal team to clarify potential overlaps in public statements. Whether this happened is unknown. No party has confirmed it. But the timing, only weeks before Ellen's move to the UK, led some observers to raise their eyebrows. If such communication did occur, legal experts say it might simply reflect an effort to avoid inconsistencies or misunderstandings should anyone be asked routine questions during the broader investigation. Meanwhile, the court filings emerging from Diddy's ongoing legal case have created a tense backdrop for all the speculation. Public testimony describes a broad network of people who helped manage his travel, events, and day-to-day logistics. Prosecutors argue that some individuals in his circle may have been chosen because they were unlikely to question him or speak publicly. These claims are still unfolding in court, but they've prompted many observers to take a fresh look at how public figures and media personalities might have unintentionally contributed to shaping his reputation. Placed against that context, it's not surprising that investigators and the public are asking broader questions about influence. Ellen has long been viewed as a trusted figure in mainstream entertainment, someone whose interviews could soften a celebrity's image or help them reset a narrative. A warm, positive appearance on a major daytime show can sway public perception far more than any statement from a publicist. This is where some viewers see a moral tension. Ellen's public persona centered on themes of kindness, accountability, and doing the right thing. She encouraged guests to take responsibility, spoke openly about values, and built her platform on uplifting messages. Now, with serious allegations circulating around someone she once interviewed and publicly joked with, some people online feel her silence is difficult to reconcile with her earlier messaging. Of course, silence doesn't prove anything. Many public figures stay quiet during active legal cases for reasons ranging from legal advice to personal boundaries. But in Hollywood, silence often carries symbolic weight. Not defending someone can still be seen as protective if you simply avoid the topic entirely. As Diddy's case continues, new testimony has highlighted an environment where people around him, assistants, executives, associates, sometimes ignored concerns or maintained distance rather than speaking up. To understand how any powerful system operates, investigators often look not only at the central figure, but also at the environment that enabled their influence. That's why many analysts believe the current inquiry is examining the broader ecosystem around Diddy, the networks, platforms, and relationships that may have helped shape his public image over the years. For Ellen, the stakes extend beyond public perception. Even without any accusation of wrongdoing, association alone can carry consequences in a media landscape where reputations shift quickly. Entertainment attorneys note that if investigators discover any financial overlap, brand partnerships, or coincidental benefits between Diddy's ventures and Ellen's production company, a very good production, it could raise difficult questions, even if the connections are entirely routine. Some former staffers, speaking privately to reporters, have expressed concern that a wide-reaching federal inquiry could include requests for archival materials stored at the Warner Brothers lot. These could include production notes, guest agreements, or behind-the-scenes footage. Not because Ellen is suspected of misconduct, but because investigators sometimes review broad industry records to understand context. If any archive material differs from past public statements, it could intensify speculation around her recent quietness. Industry insiders say networks and streaming services hosting her old episodes are preparing cautious contingency plans. Standard practice whenever a public figure becomes part of a high-profile conversation, advertisers are watching closely too, aware that audiences can quickly shift their views when unexpected narratives emerge. There's also a human side to all of this. Ellen's public image was built on composure, kindness, and control. Every segment polished, every moment deliberate. Her recent retreat from the public eye has led some former associates to speculate that she may be navigating a mix of uncertainty and caution. To some, it looks like self-protection. To others, it's simply a person stepping back from a complicated, rapidly evolving situation. In the end, one theme keeps echoing through this entire story. Silence has power, and the people who have benefited from it often understand that better than anyone. So where does that leave us now? We have a veteran talk show host who has become the subject of intense online speculation, a music mogul facing serious legal battles, and an industry wrestling with questions about who knew what and when. The FBI doesn't review documents, timelines, and communication records without reason. But it's important to remember that none of this confirms wrongdoing by Ellen or anyone else being discussed. Large investigations like this often involve mapping connections, following money trails, and identifying recurring patterns across entire networks. If Ellen's name appears anywhere in those materials, it may be incidental, a reflection of her long career and the vast number of celebrities she's interacted with, including Diddy. That alone doesn't suggest guilt. The public question isn't necessarily what she knew, it's whether she'll eventually speak about her long professional overlap with Diddy as the conversation around him continues, and that's something only she can decide. Hollywood has always run on relationships, alliances, and unspoken rules. For years, people believed those systems were too big to challenge. But every industry shifts eventually. Whether Ellen's distance from the spotlight is strategic, personal, or unrelated to the case entirely remains unknown. What is clear is that the public is watching, investigators are still doing their jobs, and this story is continuing to evolve. When the next piece of information surfaces, whether surprising or completely ordinary, it could reshape how people view everyone connected to Diddy's world. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Will Ellen eventually address the speculation or choose to stay silent? And who else might become part of this conversation as the case expands? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching Sip the Scoop. Stay tuned, stay curious, and remember, in Hollywood, stories don't stay buried for long. See you in the next one.